What's up, everyone? My name is Alex. I'm a locksmith, and I'm here to answer your questions, bring you information about security, and hopefully have a little bit of fun while we do it. In today's video, I'm going to be going over the top 5 signs you may have a hair quality safe. I'm going to be showing you some of the best-selling safes in the industry and explaining why some are great and some aren't quite what they appear. The first thing we're going to talk about is, well, batteries. If you have a dial lock or a key lock on your safe, then you don't need to worry about batteries in the first place. But if your safe is electronic, then you're going to need this information, and you might need it sooner than you think. Batteries on your safe could be changeable from the outside of the safe. Some safes, usually cheaper ones, however, house the batteries on the inside of the safe. This creates an issue where you can get locked out of your safe if you forget to change your batteries. Now, most safes that have this issue will have some sort of override that uses a key, but that also creates a vulnerability, as now your safe is a target not just for people who crack safes, but also now people who pick locks. A lot of safes that keep the batteries on the inside will come with like a charging port. This is better than a keyhole, but it also requires that you have a funky charger or something like that. For this purpose, we only recommend safes like this if you're not storing anything too valuable or anything that you need in an emergency. If you're storing a gun for home defense or medication that you might need to save your life, then don't put them in a safe like this, as it could be some time before you get your hands on the proper charger or you find your override key. This safe here has the batteries on the inside, and it has a weird key. Unfortunately, keys are easily lost, especially if it's not one you're going to keep on your keychain. But don't worry, we're going to talk a lot more about this safe. There's a lot of features about it that make it one of those safes that we really just don't recommend. Now, the lock also matters. If it's a dial or a keypad or a biometric uses a key, all of these have different features that can help or harm you. But there's a reason that almost all of the best safes out there use a regular old code. Coded safes are more secure because there's only one reasonable way in and out of the safe. And there isn't a widely known skill set or some cheap tool that you can buy to bypass them. This type of safe uses a barrel key, and you can see how this impressioning tool can open it in about 30 seconds. This safe uses a dial, which is great, except if you ever give the code to someone and you don't want them to have access to the safe anymore, it doesn't come with a convenient way to change the code. Now, biometric safes are all the rage, mostly because you don't have to memorize a passcode, but if you're not at home and your loved ones need to get into the safe, good luck trying to give your fingerprint over the phone. Lastly, coded safes are easiest to repair. If the keypad is meant to be replaced, then if your electronics go bad, 9 times out of 10, we can just put a new faceplate on, and boom, we're back in business. No need to drill the safe, no need to pry the thing open or pick a lock or anything like that. Just new faceplate on, it'll remember your code. Great option. Now next is going to be the reset function in your safe. What we want in a safe is one that requires you to know the code in order to reset the code. Here's me resetting a code on this American-made Liberty safe. Right now you can see me entering the store code, and then I enter a sequence of numbers, and then I have the code reset to my new code. Now, if I pick the lock on this safe here, I can just hit this little factory reset button, and boom, now I have access to your safe and you don't. Unless you spend $30 on this impressioning tool and spend a little bit of time practicing with it, that safe is now no longer yours, and the things that are in it are now the property of whoever reset your safe. Next, we're going to talk about bolts. Now, what's to stop the door from opening? What gives the lock its purpose at all? That'd be the bolts. Here we have the inside of a cheap safe. When you look at the bolts, you think that they're pretty strong. But in this view, you can see that once they are attached, what they're attached to is easy to bend, and that's why the bolts alone don't matter. What matters is how hard they are to move out of the way. Here's a safe that was pried open with a screwdriver and a hammer. It looks tough, but all that really needed to be done was just to get this cheap thin metal here to bend about 15 degrees, and the whole thing just pops right open. Next is the door. Obviously, the door is the most important and massive part of your security. The door needs to open. That means that the door is going to have some separation from the body in the safe. That separation is the most common weakness exploited. If you can fit a tool in the crack here that's strong enough to do the job, then you've overcome the first line of defense. Some doors are tightly fit so that a tool can't get into the door crack. Others are thick enough that a tool can't get a good bite. But even with both of these features, if the metal itself is weak enough, it'll move out of the way of the tool. Now it's no longer about access, but the strength of the materials that is going to stop a thief. Which brings us to our next point, material. Most safes are made of mild steel. This is fine if the steel is thick enough. This Mini 14 here, for instance, has a really thick plate of steel on its front door. The amount of energy needed to pry this material is greater than the amount of force a human can typically output. It's simple physics. Other safes, like this bad boy here, have a cement amalgamate, an advanced component inside that works with the steel to add even more mass to the material, essentially making it immovable. Even if you get past the steel, you gotta hammer your way through the cement, and that's a lot of time, and a safe's job is to buy more time. Safes like this Amazon Basic are made of thin and weak material, and the welding on the edges of this cheap material so it causes additional weak spots. Yeah, so as you can see from the sledgehammer test, material is important. I didn't even start with the door, I just dropped the hammer on the side of this safe and I split a weld into no time flat. As you can see, material is crucial. I didn't even start hitting with the door, I just dropped the hammer on the side of the safe and I split the weld in no time flat. When I hammered on the door itself, it cracked like an egg. So, in conclusion, the top 5 signs that you may want to upgrade your safe are how to change your batteries, inside or outside the safe. We recommend outside, or at least with the safe with a charging port. If you get locked out of your safe because your batteries died, you've got a bad safe. What type of lock do you have on your safe? Dial, keypad, biometric key? We recommend keypad, with the dial coming in a strong second place, and make sure the reset function requires you knowing the combination in order to change the combination. Anyone can slip in and reset your code without you knowing? You've got a bad safe. Are the bolts in your safe actually going to stop someone from prying the door open? Or are they attached to some thin, easily bent pot metal? If the bolts are attached to flimsy sheet metal, you've got a bad safe. Is the door constructed in a way that denies someone the ability to fit pry tools into the safe? Or is it easy to jam a pry bar in there and get to work on defeating those bolts? If you get a cheap pry tool into the door and start bending the metal, you've got a bad safe. Finally, material. Is the safe made of good quality steel, and is there enough of it? If you've got a safe made with thin sheet metal and shoddy welding, sorry, you've got a bad safe. Obviously, there's more to touch on, and there's exceptions to every rule, but these particular details are the things that I look for when I'm recommending a safe to customers. In the comments, let me know if you have any questions or things you'd like to see in the future. Thanks again for watching, like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon with more locksmith advice.